Okay. So for this sprint, I was able to sit down with my team and come up with Emma, do you mind muting your mic? So I was able to come up with the following tasks. Let me share my screen. So these are the tasks that I came up with and the team. So there was ticket 26, which was being pursued by Waweru, which was to allow users should be able to add concept dictionaries via the REST OCL API. Then there was, coming on the side, there was ticket 32, create a UI and logic for retrieving all concepts in the CIL source. Ticket 33, implement UI and logic for retrieving all concepts and search for specific concepts. Ticket 36, as a user, I want to view all sources via with pagination. Then ticket 3, a user should be able to create a new implementation dictionary via the user interface. Ticket 20, a user should be able to delete the dictionary information via the user interface. Ticket 18, a user should be able to retrieve created dictionaries via the user interface. Ticket 19, a user should be able to update dictionaries via the user interface. Ticket 15, implement search for public concept dictionaries from CIL via the user interface. Ticket 37, a user should be able to edit a dictionary via the REST OCL API. Ticket 38, a user should be able to add concepts from the CIL to a dictionary. So looking at the wiki that I came up with still, the team lead will be Daniel. Me, Christopher Kalule, will be the sprint lead for this sprint that will be starting today and will end on the 21st. And it's comprised of 10 days. The participants will be Hadija Champaire, Shakira Ndagire, Christopher Kalule, Waweru, Maura, Rurangira Emmanuel, and Emmanuel. So the main goals of the sprint will be to create an implementation dictionary belonging to an organization, and then add concepts from the CIL to an implementation dictionary. And the goals were broken down into smaller tasks that are shown below. Yeah. So that will be the work that we shall be doing for this sprint. I guess back to you, Darius.
Hey everyone, so let's see. So I guess certainly it makes sense that the target is to be able to so as a target that makes sense in terms of what we want to be building. How does that tie into sorry, so is that going to be achievable in this sprint? And is the work required to do those things easily parallelizable enough for the group of people, like for the number of people we have here? You're on mute.
Okay, so I looked into the task before. I looked into all the tasks, and then the first one, which was creating an implementation dictionary, was a task that we've been carrying all along from like the very first sprint. And what was delaying us was that we had to first, talk to the people of the OCL API, of which successfully that came to an end, and we came to a conclusion that we shall create a modified collection that we shall call a dictionary, and that has been handled by Mr. Waweru, and he has completed the task, and he raised a PR that was actually merged today to the OCL API. So that was what was holding us back. So at the moment, I believe we can move forward. Yes, we can move forward.
Sorry, so the changes to the API that we ended up discussing on the sprint demo, on the sprint demo call, we decided to do the changes in a different way. You've already made those changes and they've already been merged?
Yes, they have.
Wow, okay. Good job. I'm surprised it went that fast.
Well, thank you very much.
And just to check, that includes adding a few extra fields to these collection. There's an extra field to add to collection. There's also some behavior about cascading, and also there's some automatically, or when you save something in the source, automatically adding it to a collection.
I think for more details, basically, I think Waweru can take over for this conversation, because he was mainly in charge of that particular part. Waweru.
Thank you, Christopher. Basically, for the PR, the PR was all about creating the dictionary, which was adding the different fields to the collection endpoint. From my understanding of the endpoint, the collection already has a cascade behavior where if you delete a particular collection, it deletes each and everything. And what we are doing is modifying the existing collection. So yes, we added the different fields that were required to be able to create a dictionary. That is the field for the linked sources, the field for determining if it's an OpenMRS dictionary or just a collection, whereby any person who will be able to create a collection from this day, the collection will be saved with a different field which is called actually a repository type. So by default, it is able to pick a collection, but from the front end of the OpenMRS OCL, you'll be able to hard code that. When a user creates a dictionary, it will always reflect that it's an OpenMRS dictionary on that particular field. Any more changes that we'll be able to find, or the challenges that we'll encounter while handling, we'll be able to raise PRs in the future. But for now, all that is required to create a dictionary, it's up and running.
Okay.
Okay, cool. So I guess that was quite satisfying. So so those, since those are two the main goals of the sprint, and they are broken down into the tasks, the tickets that I created with my team. I don't know if one of our team, if anyone in the team has questions for you, Darius. I guess there could be questions.
Mic check.
I check.
Oh, thank you all. Thank you, Christopher, Waweru, and Darius. So I have a question for Darius. I wanted to ask about, while I'm implementing the concepts, should I use or design my cards the way the source cards are, or you'd like it to be a different implementation of the user interface?
You mean when searching through a source
No.
or a dictionary
For
to see the
concepts,
concepts within the source?
Yes, how concepts are brought back, like, yeah, how concepts look like. How do you want that UI to be?
So I think that should not be done looking like cards. I think those should look like a table. I mean, or more like a table. It doesn't have to literally use a table element, but you want to be, the user should be able to visually scan up and down a single column that has all the names.
Okay.
So yeah, so it shouldn't. So when you've searched, say, for diabetes, or you're listing all of the concepts in a collection or in a source or collection, yeah, that should be vertical.
So will it somehow be similar to the way the traditional OCL it brings back the concepts, because it's like they're also in a table and they are very tiny. Is it something similar to that, or it's another different table?
I would have it look more. I mean, I think it can be done better than they have it there. So in particular, I think that it would be like one fix would be the name, right? Where the name of the concept, that should be effectively in a column that is aligned.
Okay.
So like right now, although this, I guess, doesn't matter so much, or this is not in the traditional OCL. If you do a global search, first it shows the owner and then the source name.
Yeah.
So the owner, the source name, and then the ID or the code or whatever it's called of the thing, and then the name. But if those are of different lengths, like the organization, or the owner, the source name, and the code, if those are different lengths, then things end up not being aligned once you get to the name. So I would actually make it behave like columns.
Okay.
And then also, like for the classes indicator, data type is numeric. I mean, those also I would make it look more like a table in general, with just some columns that go side to side.
Okay. I will keep trying and maybe sending the UIs on talk. Thank you.
Excuse me, I have one question, sir. So for me, I was looking at the user interface, like the search feature. So is there a way we can introduce maybe libraries for searching? Like maybe we can search around, maybe we can find some React libraries that we can use. Because I remember, let me see. Search for something like, maybe we can find some libraries that we can use and
mic check.
Yes.
So like what problem would the libraries be solving?
Like this search feature in particular, for me, I used to see a lot of searching libraries that you can.
Sorry, I accidentally hit Command Q and quit Chrome, so I just missed when you started asking this question. Could you start over again, please?
Yeah. So I was asking if it is allowed to use libraries for search. Like I know there are some React search libraries that you can find online and import in a page and have a search feature. Maybe if we can spend some time researching around and see if we can find a better one. So I was actually sending a few links. Let me see. Do you see some links on the right?
Oh, yes, we do.
Yeah.
Yes, we
In
are.
particular, in particular, I used to use this search kit for building such interfaces. Maybe we can find another one that works well with React, and I think it will speed up this search future.
So basically the library will help us, like it will help speed up the process.
Yeah, like the normal way you import a JavaScript library. So you can include it in a page. And
so I should not assume that maybe you found a problem with the current search, that maybe you wanted
no.
Okay.
No, it's just a suggestion, because I see, like, when you're trying to display it may actually take you a lot of time. And if you find like this is something that you can use a library, you can just import the library and continue. The only problem I see is I used to use this search kit, but I know it is based on Elasticsearch, and I think when I was reading on Open Concept Lab, it uses Solr. So it will require us to search around Google and see if we can find a library that works with Solr. It's just a suggestion. Maybe we can find something that can speed up the development process.
Thank you very much for your feedback. I'll look into that with my team.
Yep.
So Darius. Mic check, Darius.
Already integrated with Elasticsearch is probably would be good if we didn't already have a search API implemented. But in our case, we don't want to be going directly to the data store. We want to be going via the API. So what would be more interesting is we need the UI components.
Okay, cool. Having said that, so I myself, like, when I looked into the tasks which I'm going to be doing, I came up with a few questions. So the first question is since I don't know if you are you came up with if you and Emmanuel okay, like Emmanuel posted some feedback, like, on his UI. I don't know if that was settled, and I don't know if you're okay with that, him proceeding with the cards he's using.
I gave some feedback what was yesterday for me. I don't know what has happened. I just woke up before this call, so I don't know what's happened in the last 12 hours.
Okay, cool. So let's assume if the feedback you gave him was implemented, would you approve would you approve the team to use cards for sources?
Yeah. Yes.
Then okay, then I thought, since I'm dealing with retrieving dictionaries, yeah, for the sake of uniformity, could I also use the same?
Yeah, I think that searching through basically searching through things that have concepts in them. So whether it's sources, collections, or dictionaries, yes, they can all use the same card UI.
Okay, thank you. Okay, that's been cleared. So then if we are to go with that, okay, cool. So the next question is if I'm to view a particular dictionary, yeah. There was some there was a mock-up that was guiding us. I don't know if I
Sorry, for which mockup? Creating a dictionary?
Let me share it. Let me share my screen. This specific one for viewing a particular dictionary.
Mm-hmm.
So I was thinking that is it possible if we borrowed the idea from the traditional OCL, whereby they only had like basically views. Let me show you. For example, this is a collection. Like when this, let's take for example this being a dictionary. So I click on the dictionary and then I can view the concepts inside the dictionary just by a click, and then I get all of them. And then assuming that these are the details of the collection, which are actually noted here, the general details, preferred source, description, owner, and then all the rest like could be viewed in the details, and then we could have versions later on. Would you mind if I went that way instead of going this way?
I would prefer that you do not go the way that the traditional UI does, and particularly the reason is that so that has tabs for all the different things, but what it does not do is summarize the useful information on the first screen that you see.
Oh, okay, cool.
And so I think the idea of this mockup, and it doesn't have to look exactly like this mockup, but the idea is to summarize the important details on the screen you see. You know, then you can get into more by clicking within, I guess, those sections.
Okay, thank you. So basically what I'm seeing here, the general details, and then the concept details are the main information.
Yeah, and actually I didn't write it here, but probably the general details. So what's in the traditional UI now?
It's basically details, and then they show.
Yeah, so like probably we don't need, like not all of that stuff has to be displayed on the summary. Basically, think of the first screen as a summary.
Yeah, I get.
So not all of the stuff has to be in there. Like mainly, well, I had listed preferred sources, description, and owner, which I guess is good enough. And maybe we might think to add something like supported languages or I don't know. I mean, we might add more than that, but it would be even okay to just start with those three and then.
Okay, cool. So for this specific sprint, I think there's some stuff that I may not add. For example, like the released versions, because we haven't come to that yet, and also some of the actions.
I agree. Yes, only you would only implement. I mean, the action buttons would be added as their story is implemented.
Yes. So then I also wanted to ask, so what is the purpose of the browse in the traditional OCL, this specific one?
I had presumed that we would not initially have all of the functionality in this, like if in our MVP, we wouldn't necessarily have all of the functionality to browse through concepts.
Yeah.
Or we wouldn't necessarily have all of the functionality that traditional OCL has, and therefore that would just be a link if you needed to do, edit something in a particular way.
So
if we do have all the relevant functionality, then we don't need that link.
Okay, thank you. So then I had a thought that, since we're using collections, then I have a feeling that whenever you create a dictionary, it will always show up in the traditional OCL in this particular column.
Mm-hmm.
So I think then that would actually work if it was to be implemented.
Yeah, I mean, if you click on in traditional OCL, it would be, I guess, based on the owner and the key and the code, or the key or short name, whatever that's called.
Okay, cool. So I think those are all my questions for now. Thank you.
And speaking of those mock-ups, Hadija, what I was going to suggest about the how it should look when you're searching for concepts, the mock-up after that, I think. Well, or the mock-up for add CL concepts that has a table with some columns for like name, class, data type, ID, and actions.
Sorry, Darius, could you repeat for me? I didn't get the whole thing.
Sure. There's a mock-up about adding a concept.
Yes.
And that shows kind of like, it shows the, it shows a display as a table. It doesn't have to be implemented as a table widget, but the idea of having columns for the important things and then sort of like a preview button. It should have something like this instead of the way it's done in the traditional OCL. It may need to be more than one row. Sorry, it may be that the showing a single result doesn't fit on just one line. It might need two lines somewhere, but it should still, the things like the name should be justified or should be aligned like this.
Oh, okay, yeah, I understand. So what about the create new concept? Should I put it and link it to the traditional OCL or?
Oh, and sorry, just one more thing before you ask that. However, if you go towards the end of this document, there's something called an alternative UI. Burke had done a separate mock-up here. And so you could imagine doing this using cards, using something that looks like, I don't know if you call these cards or not, but you could do that as long as it follows the same pattern of that things are aligned. So like I didn't like his exact mock-up here. But if you had like the first line is the name with the code, and then the second line has the data type and the class or something, as long as those are aligned so that someone can visually scan with their eyes vertically and find the thing they want, then it could be okay to do as cards also.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you.
I check. Darius. So I posted a new UI on talk. You said you just woke up from sleep and you've not. If you would like me to share it now with you.
This is about 4 hours ago. I see a post from and you've moved the owner into the little blue or the off to the right. Yep. Yeah, that's good. The only thing I would just change is put number of concepts before the version. And don't call it active concepts, or I don't know what active concepts is supposed to mean. Just say like 20 concepts.
All right.
So the number is the thing that's on the far left. But otherwise that looks great.
All right. I'll do that. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I jumped off. I got an internet problem, and so has Waweru. He'll be joining us shortly because he had a question to ask. and then present to everyone.
Oh, mic check. This is Waweru, not Christopher. According to when we are creating dictionaries, Darius, what does this start by copying another dictionary mean, or do we include that in the first iteration of when we are creating a new dictionary, or reserve it for other sprints?
It does not have to be in the, certainly it does not have to be in the first implementation. I mean, it's a pretty important feature, but of course, it doesn't have to be in the very first implementation of this screen. Where does it say this again? Or does it say this in one of the like yellow stickies, or?
The yellow sticky says suggest through public dictionary, starting your own ones.
Oh, start by copying another dictionary, right. You know, I feel like we might have actually changed some of the other mockups to support this in a different way. Let's see. Oh yeah, so I think the way we may have, well, let's see, okay. Ultimately, you can also should be able to, I think, get the same behavior by going to the sort of search screen and then add all, but I do think okay, sorry. So stepping back, this is basically, it's, yeah, there would be another way to do this, of course. Someone could manually, after you create a dictionary, then you go to like add concepts, and then you pick the other dictionary, and then you, like there's a way to select all and add or something, but that is, I think, that's more clicks, and it is a pretty, it could be a common use case. So we do, yeah, anyway, this doesn't have to be in the first iteration, but it should still be implemented in the next one.
All right, thank you. My second question will be, right now we are creating a dictionary, just as the way a user can be able to create a collection for them to be able to manage their concepts and their mappings. But rather than how the traditional OCL way goes, that is, they actually add the concept and mappings to the endpoints of sources. That is something we are not doing, I'm assuming.
Sorry, are you asking when someone adds a concept to their dictionary, what endpoint do we use?
Yeah, that is what I'm asking.
So when they are creating a new concept in their dictionary, I think what we've, so as a result of the design discussion we had with John, we actually want to use the existing endpoints as much as possible. So, right, so this dictionary, it'll have a link pointing to a linked source for custom concepts or something, right? And so if you follow that link and then so the custom concepts, you would add them to that source that is linked to this one.
Pardon? From the custom concept bit?
Sorry, you're talking, so there's the two things in the UI. One of them is create a new concept, like create a custom concept, and the other one is add an existing concept. Yeah. So the add an existing concept is just the plain old adding a concept to the collection.
Yeah.
And that would use the, I guess, the collections add, well, whatever the API is for that in the collection.
Yeah.
To create a custom concept, we would actually be creating a new concept within a source using the existing API for that.
Yes.
And the source that you would use would be the one. So when you create a new dictionary, we need to both create a collection and a source. And the source that and a linked source. Did I answer your question or not?
Yeah, you did answer my question. Let me just do a follow-up question. So when we create a dictionary, we create both a collection and a linked source. And I'm assuming that the linked source links to the sources. That is probably the CIL.
No, so the linked source would be your own new empty source.
Ah, okay. That actually makes sense.
Basically, yeah, since and technically speaking, if we wanted to, we could have that be done later, right? We could make it such that you don't create that empty source until the first time that someone goes and clicks on the create a new concept workflow.
That's doable.
That would be I mean, that would be a slight optimization, but it doesn't really I don't think it's a big deal either way. But the idea is that when you create a new dictionary, or as soon as they want to create their first custom concept, we need to create an empty source that's going to hold all of their custom concepts.
All right. So anytime somebody adds a custom concept, it will be linked both to this dictionary and the linked source that we created initially for this particular dictionary.
Yeah, and this is where, so you would create the concept within the source.
Yeah, that is this thing in the particular setup for traditional OCL.
And but the way I would like it to behave is that when you do that, it should automatically be added to the collection on the server side. And that's what I was sort of asking, is that already implemented in the pull request? They got merged?
No.
Probably not. So we need that behavior also, basically, because the source is a linked source for the collection.
Yeah.
And I mean, I can actually envision implementing this with the link going it could go either direction.
Yeah. So that
when you create a new concept in that source, it should automatically be a reference should automatically be added in the collection.
I think that is the behavior currently, because I think when you add concepts, you can either view them either using the source or the collection. That was why I was assuming that the reference is both ways.
I mean, yes, in a sense, yes, the concept is within the source, and also a reference to it is within the collection. You're right.
Yeah.
So you could think of it as far as the user is concerned, it's in both places.
Yeah.
The user, through our application, they shouldn't really see the source directly.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess if they go through the sources screen, they'll find something that says custom concepts for Hospital XYZ dictionary or something, and they could open that up.
Yeah.
But typically in their dictionary view, they're only going to see the collection, but which by reference includes everything that's in the source.
Yeah. I actually think that makes sense for now. Yeah. Thank you.
Mic check. Darius. So I had a question about the sources that we are currently retrieving, because currently what is happening is that we're getting sources, like we're getting all the sources, not specifically CIL, right?
Sorry, when we list all the sources?
Yes. So I'm asking, so since our main aim is to add concepts from the CIEL source, so what is the purpose of getting all other sources?
Well, okay, so actually the idea is when you create a dictionary, you can indicate multiple preferred sources.
Oh.
One or more preferred sources. The actual screen where we're listing all of the sources is not, I mean, I didn't have a mock-up for that because it wasn't necessarily intended for the MVP to be able to do that, but we ended up sort of adding that because we didn't yet have a the API for dealing with dictionaries, so we couldn't kind of do anything useful until we had a way to find the sources. So that was kind of why that got done in the last sprint.
Yes.
However, so going forward, what we need, so you do need to be able to pick a source, actually a source or a dictionary, either one, to make, as you're creating a new dictionary, one of the first fields is like, what is the preferred sources? And that should actually be allowed to include sources and collections, or sources and collections. But like, and to do that, you need to do a search, although it's probably like an inline search of some sort for sources, and then you select them. At that point, then later on, one of the screens, for when you're adding concept, like add existing concepts to your dictionary,
Yeah.
You would like from a drop down pick a specific source, and then you would end up browsing through that source's concepts. So it could be CIEL, but it could also be something else.
Okay, so thank you very much. So does anyone else have any questions to ask?
Mic check.
Check, Shakira.
Yeah, so thank you everyone for coming on this call. Yeah, so I'm getting now some sense of confusion. Yeah, because the ticket that I was specifically working on for the previous sprint, which was to actually view concepts for the CIEL, because yes, as earlier communicated by Darius, it's one of the preferred sources, but it was also said that we could first search through it, view the different concepts in it for the sprint. I don't know if it still applies for also this sprint, or right now we just have to work with all the different, like being able to select and view all the different concepts, because the story explicitly says like retrieving and searching through the CIEL source to get the concept. So is it still a relevant story to actually work on at this point?
I kind of remember talking about this on the last sprint planning. So there's a mock-up where the title, like the title on the mock-up itself says add CL concepts, but the sort of the heading in the document is like add concepts. And it's the screen that you get to when you've chosen your dictionary, and then you go and you say add existing concepts, or add existing CL concepts or something. Effectively, that's really the screen that you want to be working on. At the time, right? So basically, it allows you to search through a source like CIEL, in order to select its concepts and put them in your dictionary.
Okay.
That wasn't, but since before we didn't have dictionaries, we couldn't really do this screen exactly like that. However, still the searching and displaying the results is still relevant. But basically, so I guess I would say I would suggest rewriting the card or the story to reflect the best thing we can do now, or given what exists. So if we are going to have dictionaries within a week, the ability to create a dictionary within a week, say, then I think it makes sense to focus this story on then again adding the concept to the dictionary. The main point being, I mean, you can work on building the search through a source that has been selected, which, for example, commonly would be CIEL, and thus you see the results and you possibly filter in different ways. And when you're doing that, I mean, that widget, that component should be aware of sort of the actions that you can take, or like what is the dictionary that you're targeting, or somehow or other, you're passing to this component a property that's going to control the actions. And so maybe you end up building this without yet supporting that sort of the add action yet, because we don't have dictionaries yet. So if you were to do this in the next couple days, there are no dictionaries as such in the UI. Anyway, I'm not sure if I'm making sense here, but basically the goal is to build the screen that you use when from the dictionary you say add existing concepts, and then you pick a source from the preferred sources.
Okay, it makes sense. All right.
And so like usually it will be CIEL, like 3/4 of the time it would be the CIEL dictionary. But it could be a different source. And I mean, presume that which source is an input variable. But it's okay to always demonstrate it and like think about it and optimize it for CIEL.
Okay. All right, but then another question comes in, because initially, like what I had looked at, like in the demo that Emma made previously, when after searching for a specific source, in this case, for example, CIEL, and an individual clicks on CIEL, like the page that would show the different concepts. So that is what was envisioned in the beginning. That means now we'll just have to interchange everything. And does it have to still be present? Like after someone searches through all the sources and they click on that specific source, should there be that functionality whereby a specific source shows all the concepts, and then we bring in this aspect that you talked about, then that's when, let's say, I've seen a source, a concept that I want to add to my dictionary, and then like when you display all concepts, we also get maybe a checkbox of, let's say, the concept that you would like to add to a dictionary. Could I do it in that aspect, or I put, let's say, a button on the sidebar that has, for the meantime, that has maybe add concept to dictionary, and then I put the functionality there. So what would you advise that I do at this point?
The workflow where you first choose a source and then you pick some concepts from it and then you say add them to a dictionary or something, that's a nice to have workflow, but it's not what we're actually trying to build yet. That's not the priority. So I would actually even say leave that, put that on the back burner, right? You can have a card for that in the backlog. But the thing that I mean, the thing that I want to see implemented is you're within a dictionary, and then you say add existing concepts. And then, so at this point, the workflow is first you go into the dictionary, then you say which source, and then you do the searching. And at that point, so whereas the traditional OCL kind of lets you do it in the opposite order, where you can search and then you check some boxes and say add to, and then you say which dictionary. That's okay. I mean, we might want to add that in the future, but it's not a priority for me.
All right. Okay, I get it now. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you very much, Darius. Thank you very much, everybody, for asking questions. Should I assume all the questions are done now? Okay. So, Daniel, do you have anything to say?
Yeah, I don't have any at this moment.
Okay. How about Rurangira?
No, I don't have any question, but I think I'll have to go. One question for Darius is, you say like all the searches they go through the API?
Yeah, OCL has a search API, I believe.
Okay. So providing things like instant search, like where when I'm typing in the search box, I get suggestions or filtering. So it will not be possible with the current API.
Well, filtering is definitely possible with the current API.
But you have to click save, like when you're selecting the checkbox, you have to click save. So like to send your request and then get filtered result back.
Well, that's actually just a concern of the UI application for whether it sends, like whether it does a query only when you click, or whether it does a query just when you've typed, right?
Yeah, so I guess that the problem is in the API. So we can't currently get like.
Oh, you mean in the
filtering.
current OCL, people have
API.
complained that you have to click search after you've checked some boxes.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I think there's basically you could say a defect in the current OCL application, in the current OCL UI, the traditional UI. So we should avoid having that same defect. At the same time, I think that the search API is a bit slow. I mean, I think it's a little too slow to actually do search as you type.
Okay.
That's my impression. So I think we probably end up, in terms of typing the name, you probably do need to hit search. But if you check or uncheck one of the filters, that should happen automatically.
Okay.
Okay, cool. Thank you everyone for coming for this call. So I don't think anyone has something to say. So I guess I can call this a call. And yep, today I've kept very good time. Thank you everyone for coming on time.
Thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone. Hey, just to mention, I'm going to be out. I'm going to be on vacation for the next 3 weeks. For the next 2 weeks, I'm not going to have my laptop even. I'll take my phone.
Oh, happy vacation.
So I will, I'm going to be ignoring most things, but I'll be trying to follow up on this project. So especially if you basically if you get in touch with me via the existing threads that we've been using, I'm more likely to see those, or else ping me on Telegram if there's like some new thread gets created that I need to look at.
All right.
All right.
And I'll be slower to reply.
Okay. Enjoy the vacation.
Enjoy your vacation.
All right. Will do. Thanks, everyone.
Okay.